So we're going to discuss amortization tables. And to discuss amortization tables, we need to remember that our loan payment is actually split into two components. The first component is going to pay the interest on the loan, and the second one is going to reduce the principal. So that's the one that's actually going to reduce that future value that you have of your loan. And then you think about the actual amortization table. It basically has the payment number. So you start off at 0, then you go to 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then it'll be the actual payment that you're making in that period. So in the 0th period, 1st period, 2nd period, and so on. So in the 0th period, you don't make a payment, remember. Like in an ordinary annuity, you make it from the first one. So you'll have a PT occurring there and PT occurring all the way down as you move on. Now, if your interest rate changes, your actual value of your PT can change. So just take in mind that that's just a broad PT representation there. Then you're going to have your interest, and that's going to be the interest on your loan. And the first month or first period is going to be 0 because you just got the loan. And then thereafter, it is going to be your interest. I1 is going to be the outstanding balance from the time period before, so the B0 or the future value at T0, times the effective interest rate, so the IM. Okay, and then it's going to be for I2, it's going to be the outstanding balance at the time period before times IM, and this is going to continue all the way through. So let's just write these last two so you can just see the connection. B3 times IM. And again, if your interest rate changes, obviously that IM will represent the interest rate at that time. And because we're using the formula, it's the effective interest rate. If we're using our calculator, remember it will be the nominal interest rate that we'll be utilizing on our financial calculator. But I'm representing it by formulas, so just keep that in mind. Then we'll have the principal reduction. And again, in the first time period, it's nothing. And then our principal reduction is going to be, so you're going to have PRN1 is going to be the actual payment minus the interest. And PRN2 is going to be the payment minus the I2. PRN3, same thing, PT minus I3. PRN4 is going to be PT minus I4. Okay, so here we have this interest. So we're taking this payment minus this interest is going to give us our PRN, our principal reduction. So whatever of our payment doesn't go towards interest goes towards reducing the principal. And then we have the actual balance of our loan. So to begin with, it's our PV amount, right? Because we got in the loan. And then thereafter, it is going to be, and just a heads up, PV can also be B0. The outstanding balance at T0 is the present value. Okay. Then it's going to continue, and we're going to have B1, the outstanding balance at time period 1, B2, B3, B4, etc. But because we have the information here of our payments, our B1 is actually our B0 minus our principal reduction at that time period. So because we have how much the principal is being reduced, and we spoke about the fact that the reduction on the principal is what's actually changing the future value of your loan, you have your original minus the reduction of that month to get the new balance. And this is going to repeat B1 minus PRN2, B2 minus PRN3, and B3 minus PRN4. And this is going to continue as well. So this is what your amortization table is going to look like. It was going to have the payment number, the actual payment that it's going to be, the interest of that payment. So it's taking this and it's breaking it up into the interest and the principal reduction. To work out the interest, you take the original amount, the one time period before, and then you have B0 times IM. Now, a question you may have is, why doesn't it have a times by n? It's because you only have that one time period. So technically it's times by 1 there, but you don't have to put it in because it's just times by 1, which gives you the same value. Okay. Then we're going to have our principal reduction, and that's the actual payment minus what goes towards the interest. The rest of it goes towards reducing the principal. And then we have our new outstanding balance. It's the old outstanding balance of the time period before that, minus the principal reduction from that payment. And again, this table is going to repeat itself. So you'll notice it's a really good table for Excel because you have your PT and your I gives you your PRN. You have your B0, the one just above there, times by your effective interest is going to give you your I there. And then you have your B1 as your B0 minus the one there. So you can do this relatively quickly on your Excel. We're going to do it by hand for one example, just maybe 2 iterations to get the point. And then we're going to show you how to do it on your financial calculator. Okay, so we have a 7,581 Rand and 57 cents loan, which is amortized by 5 annual payments of 2,000 Rand. And it says the loan is secured at 10% per annum compounded annually. And we're going to set up the amortization table for this loan. So remember, our amortization table starts off with the payment number, then it's the payment, then it's the interest that is paid with that payment, then it's the principal reduction that is paid with that payment, and then it's the outstanding balance at that moment in time. So let's just write down all our columns here, and there we go. Now, our first row is the easiest one to do because that's 0, that's 0, that's 0, that's 0. And then our outstanding balance is the present value of the loan. So it's at 7581.57. Okay. We also know when this amortization table is going to end because we have how many payments are going to occur. So it's 5 annual payments. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we can start filling in the rest. So first up is the fact that it's annual payments of 2,000 Rand. So we can actually put in the 2,000 for those places. Be careful with the last payment because you may have a situation where the final payment is not the same, but at the moment, this example is going to work out perfectly with the 2,000. Now we can work out what the interest for payment 1 is. So I1 is equal to B0 times the effective interest, which is I1. Now, if we look at our information, we're going to see that we have the nominal interest given to us. So we have J is equal to 0.1. We need I1. So remember, J is equal to IM times M. So I1 is equal to J divided by 1, which just gives us 0.1. So now we have the value for I1. So a reminder, if you're doing this by hand and you're using the formulas, you need the effective interest rate in decimal fraction notation. Okay, now we're going to work it out a little bit further from here. So it's B0, so it's the 7581.57 times by 0.1, and that's going to give us 758.16. Okay, then we're going to have our principal reduction, and our principal reduction is the payment amount. So we're going to have PRN1 is equal to the payment amount minus I1. So that's going to be the 2,000 minus the 7581.16 to give us 1241.84. Then we can work out the outstanding balance. So remember, B1 is equal to B0 minus the principal reduction that just occurred with the payment. So it's going to be 7581.57 minus 1241.84, which is going to give us a value of 6339.72. And we're going to do this again. So one more time, I'm going to show you the formulas. So we're going to have I2 is equal to B1 times I1. And then we're going to say, okay, B1 is 6399.72 times by 0.1. And that's going to give us a value of 633.97. Then we're going to work out the principal reduction. So PRN2 is equal to PT minus I2. So that's going to be 2,000 minus 633.97, which is going to give us a value of 1366.03. And then we're going to work out B2, and B2 is equal to B1 minus PRN2. So that's going to be 6339.72 minus 1366.03, which is going to give us 4973.70. And at this moment in time, you can pause it and actually try and work out the rest of it before I give you the values for the rest of it. Okay, so the rest of the values are going to be 497.37, 347.11, and 181.82, and then 1502.63, 1652.89, and 1818.18, and then it is going to be 3471.07, 1818.18, and 0. So that is what our amortization is going to look like. So you have to do each and working out by hand if you're doing this with, just by hand and you're not using Excel. Or alternatively, and this is what we're going to discuss now, is how we can get this information by using our financial calculator. So the first thing we're going to do for this is we're actually just going to copy this amortization table and then clean it up a bit so we can show you how to do it on your financial calculator and where to get the information. So from there and just match it. So the first thing we're going to try and do on our calculator is find the value for the balance at B2 and the principal and the interest. So to do this on your financial calculator, you're first going to input all your information like you would normally. So you're first going to start off with clearing your cash flows and your information from the previous things. So stage 1. You're still going to have a stage 2 where you enter your payment period and your compounding period. So in this case, it will be 1 because it's annually, and compounding is annually. So that will also be 1. And we can push ONC. And then we're going to put in all our information. Now here we put in all the information to get to the very end. So we're going to have the 5 because it's 5 payments. We'll have the plus minus 2,000 because the payments are 2,000 Rand. And we're going to put in the 7581.57 as our present value and our 10 IY. Now what we're going to do is we're not going to compute anything. Let me just move the screen a bit because that's going off the screen. There we go. So we're not going to compute anything. So at this point, we are now going to use the AMRT button just as it is. So we're going to push AMRT, and then we're going to be confronted with, AMRT P1, and we're going to say P1 is 2, and we're going to push enter, and then we're going to push the down arrow to display AMRP P2, and we're going to push enter. And what this is going to do is going to tell us to calculate, or tell the calculator to calculate the payments for the period 2 ending at 2. So it's just going to calculate this line. That's where we start at 2 and where we end at 2. And then we are going to just push the down arrow, and it's going to show us our outstanding balance. So it's going to show us our outstanding balance. So it's going to show us this 49730.73.70. And if we push down again, it will show us our principal reduction, our 1366.03. And if you push down again, it's going to show us our interest, which is 633.97. So pushing down once gives us our principal, and one more time is going to give us our interest. Okay, then I'm just going to go through explaining some other things about it while I have the financial calculator open. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clear our second function CA. Then we're going to put in our normal information. So PY is equal to 1, our CY is equal to 1, and then we're going to start putting in all the information regarding the PV and all that. So that is 7581.57 PV, 2000 PMT, and it's negative because it's payment, 10 IY, and remember it's nominal interest, 5N. Now we push AMRT, and now we update the AMRT to 2 because we want to look at the second one, and we update the AMRP2 to 2. And then you see the balance is the same balance given to us, and the same principal, and the same interest. Now, just a side note, you can actually do the fifth one. So we're going to push 5, enter, and then P2 is going to be 5 as well. And you're going to see that the balance is 0, like it said there, with the principal 1818.18 and the interest 181.82. Okay, so there's just one thing I want to cover before we end this off, and that is the fact that I spoke about the idea that when we choose the AMRT on our financial calculator and we have P1 and we have P2, if we want to work out for PRN2 and I2, we'd have to do 2 and 2 there. And if you wanted to work out for the fifth one, we would put 5 and 5. Now, the reason for that is when we actually use this P1 and this P2, so this P1 and P2 value on our financial calculator, it's going to do the working out from where we indicate it should start. So P1 is the start and P2 is the end. So when we do it like that, and if we had to take, say, for example, from 0 and then 5, it's going to give us the outstanding balance at 5 because that's where it ends. So it would give us our B5. So in this case, that would be 0 because B5 is this here. But it's not going to give us PRN5 because we have asked for it to give it to us from 0 to 5. So it's actually going to give us the summation of PRN from I is equal to 1, or I is equal to 0, to I is equal to 5. So it's actually going to sum up everything here and give us that value. And for the interest, it's going to do the same thing. So from where we start, and we said we wanted to start at 0 and end at 5, it's going to sum up all of that and give us the total of it, the summation of it. So this B5 value would be something that we recognize, but then the rest would be the summation of all the principal reductions that occurred in that space of our selection of our P1 and our P2. So just acknowledge that and keep that in mind when you're using your financial calculator. Now, this is great in this situation because you could find out what is the total interest you paid towards this loan. By putting in that 0 and that 5, you'll be able to see the total interest by looking at the interest button or menu option. And you also should see that your principal reduction, if you're doing the whole duration of the loan, matches the original loan amount. So let's go and do that quick. So I've already put in all the information. So I'm just going to the AMRT straight away. And you see my P1, I'm leaving as 1. And then I'm changing my P2 to 5. And now you're going to see the outstanding balance is 0. And it's going to give us the summation amount for the principal, which is the same as the loan. And then it gives us the total interest for the duration of the loan, because the sum is everything in between. So again, you can use it to calculate your total interest for the loan by using from the start of the loan to the end of the loan. And I know in the calculator I put in 1, I could have put in 0 and I'd get the same amounts coming out. So just take that into account.